Welcome back to Walking the Path podcast. You already know who it is. Today is episode 12, and we're going to be diving deep into imposter syndrome. Three reasons why you struggle with it, why it's there. And I personally have struggled with this myself. I know a lot of my clients have, a lot of my friends have, and it's such BS, right? The stories that we tell ourselves of why we're frauds, of why we can't do what we love or teach it. I remember, especially when I was beginning my business or even just sharing content, I felt like such an imposter. I'm like, who am I to teach anything? Look at all these other successful people that are killing it. I'm this little peanut over here. But who am I to go out and share my gift? Who am I to go out and share anything? But it was a lot of stories. It was deeper beliefs. We'll go into it in this podcast. But there's a lot of components to imposter syndrome. And by the time you finish listening to this, you're going to be able to challenge that. You're going to have a new belief. You're going to really see it for what it is, because there are so many lies that you're telling yourself when it comes to imposter syndrome, and you're just disqualifying yourself for, honestly, when you get to it, for no reason, because you're going to see that you're more than qualified, you're more than ready to teach this for the next level, whatever it is that you want to do. You're not a fraud. All right, so without further ado, here are three reasons why you struggle with imposter syndrome. First and foremost, I have my notes over here. You constantly downplay your achievements. See, when you work so hard and accomplish so much, but even with that, you're not celebrating yourself, right? You chalk it chalk it all up to luck and timing or help from others, and deep down you feel like you didn't truly earn your success, even with the evidence that says otherwise. Relate to that. Right? It's never enough. There's always more. There's always more. And that mentality, it can serve you for some time, but ultimately, live by the sword, you die by the sword, because that's what leads many to burnout, to at the end of the day, self-doubt, because they're like, why am I not there yet? Why am I not to this level of success that I want to be at? And truth is, until you start acknowledging the wins that you're doing, the success you already have, you've already achieved, it's going to be very difficult for you to ever really overcome this imposter syndrome, because it's never going to be enough. You're always going to be trying to seek uh, your worth externally, and low self-worth is one of the beliefs that come with imposter syndrome. So if you're constantly seeking out this worth outside of you, I'll be enough. I'll be worthy once I have this. You're never going to get that feeling that you're looking for. So when you start acknowledging your achievements, when you start celebrating you, when you start believing that you're worth celebrating, this imposter syndrome is going to start to leave, right? And also, being able, something that really helped me as well, is being able to talk about what you've lived, right? Because when you're a student, you don't feel like a fraud. You're a student, you're right, you're learning. But for some reason, when you become a teacher, this is when this really starts to sink in. And the reason why it sinks in is because you're talking about stuff that you know about but aren't really living, right? And I'm not saying don't share what you've learned, but it'll be easier to tap into that belief when you share about your life, when you share about things you've gone through, lessons that have come through you. It'll be very different. You won't have this imposter syndrome come up so much, because you'll have the unshakable confidence come up instead, because you've lived that. Whatever you're talking about, you've lived it. And that makes a big difference. So if you stop downplaying what you've done, right? Your journey, you go back to your day one compared to now, I bet you there's a big difference. I bet you didn't even recognize yourself. You're the complete opposite from when you just started, right? This personal development journey or self-empowerment journey, it it really helps to go back and see who you were, who you used to be, because you're a whole other person now. And when you challenge that belief that you don't have what it takes, or you're not worthy to share, or you're not ready, you really go into it. I had a session with a client yesterday, and got to see just how ready he was for the next phase of his life, for the next chapter. But there was these damn stories, these beliefs that were crippling, that made him believe that he wasn't. Once you again challenge those stories, you start to see how flawed they are. Right? You'll get to see how flawed imposter syndrome is. And yeah, you're probably more more ready than you think in all reality. So yeah, guys, you want to do the opposite of this. You're struggling with imposter syndrome and you're constantly downplaying your achievements. I had another client that she wouldn't celebrate her birthdays because she felt she wasn't worthy of it. The day you were born, she wasn't worthy of celebrating her. And that went back to low self-worth. Got to see how valuable you are. No one's going to tell you that. You really have to see it. And you're everything you're seeking, you already are, right? That old saying, it's so true, but we don't look for it, right? We don't look for it. I used to think there was something wrong with me, that I was an F up, right? I would say the whole word, but YouTube's, you know how YouTube is. But I would believe that I was a mess up. And I realized I was the exact opposite. Once I challenged it, once I saw, hold on, no, this was given to me. I created this belief through experiences where in those experiences, created a negative emotion and meaning to it about who I was. That unconsciously, would dictate certain decisions I would do, and it wouldn't be in my benefit. I would just do stuff that, again, prove that belief to be true. So don't prove this belief to be true, that you're an imposter, that you're a fraud, that you don't really have what it takes. It's a lie. It's a lie. And the second you start celebrating your success, the second you start, even like, there's so much evidence that you already are worthy of teaching, you already are worthy of sharing. When you start looking at that more, you're gonna start to see, wow, you can really help people. You can really make a difference. You're here to you're here to give something back, and we're all here to serve one way or another. Focus on that. Focus on the service. Your worth has nothing, from another perspective, your worth has nothing to do with the value that you can add to someone's life, right? Just something to think about. Second reason why you struggle with imposter syndrome, there's a fear of being exposed as a fraud, right? What if they see me? What if they see that I'm not as good as they think I am, or even if as I think I am? What if I'm a fraud? Right? Is I mean, how many can relate to that? I remember when I used to I used to really I used to struggle with this too, right? And I would like in my coaching sessions, I would be like, well, if I do get exposed as a fraud, at least I can still motivate them. But that would be my backup, my go-to backup. I'll just motivate them. But again, it was because I felt insecure. I felt like, who am I? But when you realize, again, it's just these fears of low self. It's again the fear of being exposed as a fraud. But really, when you take that lid off, feel like you're not enough to be able to help. You feel like, again, you have that low self worth. All these deeper meanings or beliefs is why there's that fear of being exposed as a fraud. And in all reality, to be honest, I've never met a client that I couldn't help. Never. And that that's that works with the law of attraction because people come to you because you'll be able to help them. And you got to trust that. And I've gotten my reps in as a coach. I've given so many free sessions in the past in exchange for testimonials. And as you build up that confidence through each session, through each person that you impact, and you see the transformation right before your eyes, it's like how can you believe you're an imposter? Look at what you've helped them do, right? You've just been a guiding hand. You've convinced them that they could change, that they can. And when you start looking at, well, when you start building those reps, right? Or even just that first session, the fact that like the first session, I was shaking. I was shaking. I'm like, if I'm a fraud, if I'm not as ready as I think I am, even though I've studied and done coaching programs and had mentors for years, it is just the mind. Even you can be mentored and have all this knowledge for 10 years and it's still you would still have the same thoughts because again underneath that is the low self-worth. It's again, it's just not it it's stuff that it's not true, right? And as I would challenge that, I would go into these sessions, like, and I would say, you know what? Spirit lead the way, heart lead the way, choose to serve. And I would have these like affirmations and intentions before going into the session. It would always be fine because my intention was to serve. So if you have that intention and you go into something, right, whatever it is, how can you lose? Right? You're bringing your best self every time. They're getting the best version of you in that moment. It's all that matters. So also just going deeper into this fear of being exposed as a fraud, despite being qualified, even if you're qualified, even if you're skilled or experienced, still haunted by the thought that someone will eventually find out you don't know what you're doing. This fear can hold you back from taking bigger risks or stepping into leadership roles. Right. And it correlates with the fear of being seen too. Right. When you have that fear of being seen, you don't, the last thing you want to do is feel like you're exposed. But in all reality, there's nothing to fear. I, I sometimes do these podcasts with my shirt off. My girlfriend told me to put a shirt up, but I do these podcasts with my shirt off because I want you to see me. I really want you to. Like, I have nothing to hide. Like like this is me at my purest, so to speak, and that's a way that I also just show myself and allow myself to be seen. Right, and there's different ways to do that, but when you have this fear that you're a fraud or being exposed, you gotta ask where it really comes from. And those two things are the main ones that I found, right? The the belief that you're not enough and the low self-worth. Those two things are what I've seen. It really comes down to when it comes to this. But if I were you, I would give yourself a chance at least because you're gonna find out there's nothing to fear, first off. And when you allow yourself to be seen and again show up, you're gonna surprise yourself. And you're gonna see that you got what it takes. You can. That these BS stories that you're a fraud are gonna be further from the truth. Give yourself a chance, show up, do what you gotta do, at least put yourself out there and see what could happen. These fears are gonna literally control you your whole life if you don't. I love what Mike Tyson says. He says, I fear losing more than I fear death. That's powerful. You go up against a man with those kind of values, those kind of beliefs. Good luck. Good luck, right? Because all these fears, save them for when you're dead. Honestly, like save them for when you're dead. Uh, and it's a paradox, right? Even with just that quote, but you get what I mean. You can use that to motivate you. Like it's not being afraid, not being afraid to be exposed. Yeah, it's just a story, and people have different ways of motivating themselves, right? For me, both work. Like you know, I can say what's the point of fearing this? Like, well, we're alive to really, we're gonna die, and those fears ain't gonna matter at all. Or again, I rather fear losing and give everything I can to win than that. So whatever rocks your boat. But last but not least, one of the biggest struggles that gets that one of the biggest struggles that comes with imposter syndrome is you compare yourself to others and always fall short. You feel like you're always falling short in life. You're just there, right? This is this is a nice way to continue believing imposter syndrome, right? When you look at others in your field or circle, it feels like they have it all figured out while you're barely holding it together. This endless comparison reinforces the false belief that you're not good enough, even when your results say otherwise. You can't compare. You can't compare because your journey is not their journey. And you can't, I always say, I would tell my clients, think about yourself as somebody, as an adult, telling a baby, why the hell haven't you learned to run yet? What's wrong with you? Right? She should have learned how to run yesterday. It doesn't make sense. When it really comes down to it, it doesn't make sense because you're in a different stage than that other person, and that other person started at the same damn stage that you did. You're just finding another way, another reason, another story as to why you're not good enough, as to why you're not worthy. Look where that person's at. Look how much they've accomplished. Look how much success they have. But you can't compare your day one to their day 10,000, right? Or your year one to their 20 years. It's not fair. And I used to be very guilty of this. I wouldn't understand. And my ego would get in the way. And my mentor would struggle with the same thing. I would tell myself, like, I know so much. Why am I not there? Right? I'm just as good. I know what they're doing. I know the strategies. I know, right? But imposter syndrome, those restricting beliefs, but always fall short. Think I'm behind. So I would work harder, work more. And that led me to burnout and adrenal fatigue. And I followed the culture, the hustle and grind culture of work till you drop. Yeah, well, it didn't help me heal. And it didn't help me heal afterwards. I had to figure that out myself. So that's the thing. Comparison, comparison can really mess with you mentally, and there's no need to. You're on different paths. You really got to trust your process, your journey. And I know sometimes it doesn't make sense, and you really believe deep down that you're ready for something. Fear knows best. Our egos are not that smart. They're really not that smart. And there's a time, there really is a timing for everything. And when you're able to tap into that and see that Your spirit has your back, even if you don't get it right now. It always makes sense in retrospect. You can always connect the dots in retrospect. But you got sometimes you just, man, you got to hold on. You got to do what it takes to stay in the game, or even just take a knee and give yourself some rest. Because if you don't, you're going to sign yourself off. And you're going to, imposter syndrome is going to be the reason why you don't do what you want to do or serve all the people you want to serve. And it was just a story. It was just a reason to validate what you believe deep down. Maybe again that you really didn't have it. You were afraid and you didn't have it in you. You weren't enough. For me, one of the biggest stories too that would stop me from trying, from uh, feeling, putting myself in situations that I know were really going to challenge me, was because I thought I was a failure, and that belief was running. It's a freaking program, a virus running in the background, and I wouldn't. I would achieve a little success and then I would stop because if I achieve more, that would contradict the belief that I'm a failure. Maybe it's the same for you. Maybe if you got to the next level, or if you gave yourself a chance to actually live your dream, you would believe you're not enough. You would believe you're not enough, or it would contradict the fact that you have low self worth. And some people, it gets as bad as them believing that they're nothing, that they have nothing to offer, they don't matter. So what's the point? And I'm telling you, cannot just accept that, right? You're here, you're going to, if you're here, you're going somewhere. If you're listening to this, you're going somewhere. You got the pen. Nobody took that from you, right? Nobody, nobody could ever take your dream from you. Nobody can ever tell you where, unless you let them. Nobody could ever tell you where the direction of your life is going. It's all on you. All on you, and you got to decide. Imposter syndrome gonna dictate the rest of my life. When I leave this earth, I'll be saying, well, I believed all my fears. I can die happy. Or you're gonna look back and say, I let nothing stop me. No circumstance, nothing. I knew what I could do. There's a belief in you that you hold greatness. Gotta listen to that. Gotta listen to that. Imposter syndrome doesn't even stand a chance. Once you find your truth, when you pull that out of you, it doesn't stand a chance. Your truth is going to lead the way. But that those fears of like imposter syndrome, of all these negative perceptions about yourself, they're just vehicles. They're vehicles to your divine truth. If you open the freaking door, get in the car and be like, right, what's up? I'm here. I'm here. Face it. You'll find out there's a deeper truth. Maybe, just maybe, you're not an imposter, but you actually have the potential to be a great teacher. Something to sit with. Maybe on the other side of that, these fears, who you're actually meant to be, right? Maybe you don't have low self worth. Maybe that's there to teach you how to have a high sense of self worth, teach you how to value yourself, how to see how amazing you are. Behind every, there's a law of polarity, right? There's a low, there's a high, there's there's a low, there's a high, um, there's up and there's down, right? There's winter, there's summer, law of polarity. So if the pendulum can swing this way, make you believe that you're an imposter, you're a fraud, you can make the pendulum swing the other way as well. That you're phenomenal, that you're great, that you're unstoppable, you can do anything. I'm telling you to swing the pendulum to the other side. You got to go through this. You got to feel this stuff. You got to dig into this stuff, why you feel like an imposter. And you challenge it by saying, no, I acknowledge it. This belief that was given to me by parents, by authority figures, by people around me. I'll be damned if that's going to be the rest of my life because I know I got something in me. You know, you got something in you. Go out and do it. Prove, prove that lower self wrong because you're here to do something. You really are my friend. All right. So I hope you see just these stories, these beliefs that have been coming up, and you see how false they are. You see how unreal they are. Maybe you can choose to believe different from now on. Maybe you got to record that first piece of content. Maybe it's time to get that first client, break that first product, whatever it is. Or, it just depends where you're at. Like, dive fully into your stage. Wherever you're at, give it 120. I love what Eric Thomas says. He said, I'm either going to give it 120 or I'm not going to do it at all. Right? Don't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Give it everything. It's your life. It's your life. And you're really going to get out. You're really going to get what you put out. So hopefully this helped you break through imposter syndrome, get back into that confidence that you can get the reps in, jump in, sink or swim. You're going to swim, right? You're going to swim. I'm telling you, you're going to swim. But the an old quote. I'll end this podcast with this. There's an old quote that says, "The worst thing you can do is something about take no risk, right? Or the worst risk you can take is not taking one. Something along those lines. I'm saying take the risk. Be seen. Take your shirt off if you have to. Be seen. It's so free. You're able to be yourself. When you're able to allow your expansion to happen, when you're able to really live your potential, share what you've lived, it's so free. And there's a whole other version of you on the other side. You gotta let it be expressed. Till next time, guys. Till next time, if you want to learn more about what it would look like to work one-on-one with me, go ahead and check out the link in the description. I have all the details there and more. Or if you want to ask me some questions, feel free to reach out via Instagram at Rogelio Diaz Official. I'm also going to leave my Instagram in the description. But I hope you got to see your truth today. And hopefully these stories of imposter syndrome and these struggles will be a thing of the past. You got something new to focus on. Future, your brilliance, your greatness. Go unleash it. Go unleash your greatness, my friend.